People are not buying the PlayStation 5 Pro. Who could have seen this coming, Josh Brown, at such a palatable price point as $700/$700? Seems not as many of us were as up for being ripped off as Sony first thought. The console is apparently still in stock over on PlayStation Direct. However, the controller is selling out quite considerably, with eBay scalpers diving in, attaching ridiculously exorbitant price points to that. But the general conversation on PlayStation 5 Pro is always that it was, for it's more of a luxury purchase, it is for the hardcore, etc. But that is starting to come through in the sales, even though it was a reduced number of units anyway.
I'm turning around on this thing, Scott.
What do you mean?
I know, there have been so many times over the past week since it went on sale, and I've been sat at my computer, head in my hands, sternly looking at the screen thinking, should I do it?
You should not do it.
Should I spend the money? Should I get it? Thankfully for me, it's been sold out every time I've jumped on those
what do you
pages.
What's it going to do?
Well, the thing is,
go on.
700 quid, too much money.
Yes.
Too much money. It's
you get a car with that.
It's not for the majority of people, as we know. I can't afford it right now at all. That said, everything that I've seen about it, everyone who has had hands-on with the machine, whether it's Digital Foundry or other outlets, they're all talking about how good it is. And maybe I'm starting to think it might be a PSVR 2 situation where, let me establish, the PSVR 2 cost a lot of money, but relative to the technology we're getting, I don't think it was a rip-off, and I think that's the case here, where yes, it's a lot of money, it's not for everyone, people have the right to be a little bit outraged,
yes.
But I mean, it was always a thing that you mentioned there, that the PS4 Pro sold, between 15 and 20% of all copies sold. The estimate that this is going to be about 13% of all PS5 unit sales. This is like for those enthusiasts, right?
For the sickos.
And I'm starting to think, from what people are saying about it, and everyone who knows stuff about consoles saying that it is kind of worth the money when you look at the internal parts, I'm kind of coming around on it, and
oh my God.
I feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit.
I think you might be watching because I want to mention a few things here in a sec, but the Digital Foundry stuff is interesting because we just had opposite reactions to that. Where I watched the Digital Foundry comparisons where they're looking at Gran Turismo 7 and I was like, which one's the Pro footage? It looks the same. And then I forget which one of their presenters was saying that it looks like a generational leap. And I was like, there's the alien brain parasite and everybody except me.
You don't know you don't know. You don't believe in ray tracing.
No,
Scott,
it's not real.
It's never going to be a thing for you. I think it's... Even with the PS4 Pro, which, had HDR and had a higher resolution and...
I'm kidding.
It had maybe more tangible things that you can see side by side if you had a HDR monitor, of course, at the time. I think it's always a hard sell because even in the best YouTube videos, there's going to be compression, there's going to be...
Oh, here he is.
There's going to be that inability to properly understand what you're looking at, especially when you're talking about frame rates. The amount of bad faith stuff I've seen online of people going, you can't even tell the difference between this frame and this frame. In one's running at 60, one's running at 120, or one's running at 30. And it's like, yeah, of course you can't see in a screenshot how a frame rate works, So I think I understand the hesitance. I understand the criticism because you want to make those easy comparisons. You want to be able to look at this and look at that and say, that looks better, that's why I'm justifying my money. But I don't think that's what this machine is for. It's more in that PC mold of, this will get me better performance. If I tweak this internal component, it'll boost the resolution and whatnot. And there are still a lot of things that I think PlayStation are doing wrong with it. I think not having a first-party new game to ship alongside it is outrageous. I think relying on the likes of The Last of Us Part 2 and Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake 2, for as great of games that they are, is not going to get in that average consumer and make them, again, have that reaction that I think you're looking for, where you see two things side by side and go, I want to play that. That is definitely an issue that they have.
There's two things. One, the fact that this is where the industry is at is hilarious, where it is just a case of on-screen diminishing returns, where we're having to scrutinize and zoom in. Have you looked? Go to the background and Ratchet and Clank. Look at the crowd. Oh, that one. If you that one's a little bit more crisp over here. Like, just absolute insanity that's where we're at. I mean, it's fair enough. Like, people who are into that stuff, it's an awesome thing to follow if you're that minded and you can get satisfaction from it. I just think it's hilarious. But at the same time, the side-by-side comparisons, like you said, I don't think Sony have done any favors leading with what if we zoomed into Ratchet and Clank's background and then compared them, when something like the PSSR, the super sampling technology that they have as part of the Pro is what's turning a lot of heads now that more outlets have got hands-on with it. And someone like Digital Foundry is doing a a better job showing off footage of games running than Sony themselves did in their official state of play, which is one thing I wanted to throw in. There's a lot of, and it's not necessarily misreporting, but there are a lot of more tech-focused, YouTubers, social media accounts, whatever, getting out there saying, look, these are the specific specs of the PS5 Pro now that it's gone into full production, now that we can see it, in black and white, and it is considerably more powerful than a lot of stuff on the market right now, and it is worth the money if that's the sort of sphere that we're going into. If you were going to build a PC like this, it would cost you a hell of a lot more than £700 or $700. But I do think the overall conversation is just what we just had, but on a much bigger scale. Like, you either think it's hilarious that they're leading with a Pro when they arguably have barely sold the PS5 in regards to something that you need to play on PS5, the 4K 60 promise or whatever it is. That side of it is kind of where I'm at. But then you see the reality of things running better and that idea of just being able to play the best version of a game, and then that's up against the £700 price point, which at the minute I'm like, get out of here.
Yes.
But maybe somewhere down the line that'll be more palatable, but it depends how long the generation then goes on for.
Yeah.
The PS6 is going to be at least £700 now because we know what this price point is.
That's the only thing putting me off right now. I'd probably sell my house to get a PlayStation 5 Pro at this moment in time because I just want to play the likes. The secret is, right, I want to play Alan Wake 2 again. I want to play Spider-Man 2 again. I want to play The Last of Us Remastered 2 again. And now I've got it in the worms are in the brain to the point where I'm thinking, well, I was going to play Alan Wake 2 again next month, but now I kind of want to play it in the best possible version if I know I'm missing out on something. Slightly faster, higher ray tracing. Shinier. You know, I want to do that, and I get it. That is funny. That is funny. It is silly. It is... I understand that
they made us into PC people.
Yeah, that my colleagues, including you, Scott.
Yeah.
I have become more of a PC person, I guess, than a console person, and that is hilarious. It is silly, I think, to get caught up in the weeds as I am.
Yes.
But I can't deny that it is working on me to a major degree.
In the second Matrix, when all the Smiths jump on Neo and trying to hold him down.
Yes.
That's very much the What Culture Office is right now in terms of Josh vying to get a PlayStation 5 Pro.
It is.
I will say that in amongst all this, they did put out the nostalgic version of the PS5 Pro with the grayscale look, like the PS1 look, which kind of inverted the opinion on this thing in terms of the online conversation anyway. And then that's led to the controller being out of stock. But it is that thing of like, do people just want to throw money at this massive product? Because the retro bundle is only available in something that is closer to £1,000. It comes with a DualSense Edge, and it comes with, I think it's a Portal as well. It's like a bundle deal. And that idea is like, is it as easy as that in terms of like, how much are we that bothered about the graphical stuff, the £700 price point stuff? Are we actually willing to pay this if it's packaged better? And if Sony on the State of Play had led with the types of gameplay that Digital Foundry are now doing, would that have been more convincing? Because certain titles are more night and day stuff. Like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth runs a lot better on the Pro. Gran Turismo 7, I could not tell you the difference. The firearm to my temples, I couldn't tell you what the hell the difference is.
Ray trace reflections on the side of the car, man.
I'm looking for them.
Yeah,
I can't see them whatsoever.
I think you're absolutely spot on. I mean, Sony's had an issue with marketing and messaging for a few years now. I think they're getting slightly better at it, but they went completely in the opposite direction of the opulence that they used to have, which I really liked because it at least got stuff out there, and then they just started relying on blog posts. But now they're getting a little bit better. But yeah, it is damning, I think, that the best marketing for this thing so far has not been from the manufacturer of it. It has been from third-party outlets who have gotten hands-on and are doing a better job of informing people why they should be excited about it rather than the company itself. I think that is a big part of it. I don't know. I also think, and to be as respectful as possible, myself included, a lot of people just... business cultivates this idea that you're missing out, right? That you need to have something. Yes. And the biggest reason that I'm not getting it for me is just purely financial. I think £700, especially in this climate, is a lot of money, but especially a lot of money when you have the disk drive on top of it that I will want to buy.
That's another
and
big
when
part
you
of it.
might have that next generation starting in 4 years. Am I confident that I'm going to get 4 years worth of goodness out of this machine from a third and first party perspective? Not really right now, because we know how long games take to make.
Do you want some more remasters?
Yeah, by the time a lot of the games that I'm most looking forward to come out, will probably be onto the PS6, which is very nightmarish. But go back to that idea of creating FOMO and the fear of missing out, right? Years ago, I got a contract for the iPhone 14 Pro, right? I don't know what it does. I don't know what it does. I just got it because it was there. It was an option.
Doesn't change his wallpaper, this kid.
I haven't even changed my wallpaper.
No.
Loved ones? No, it's just a pink swirl. But the point is, I do think they are effective, and I'm silly for buying into it. It's looking at two versions of a product and going, well, of course, I want the best version.
Well, that's my pay to make the problem go away thing, which is just like, I do want to play the best version of the games that are on the market. Like, you know, in 2020, I bought a new TV. I got the LG CX, which is like a £1,000 TV. It's the most I've ever spent on a TV. And I was like, give me this stupid over-the-top purchase so I don't have to keep thinking about it. That can do all the frame rate crap and do all the HDR stuff and do whatever. I don't want to think about it. I just want to play the games. So in this case, it's like the console equivalent of that. You've shifted the bar. How many developers then do PS5 Pro versions of their games, patches or whatever it is? That remains to be seen. They've announced a slate of titles that will get upgrades. Nothing that's turning my head necessarily. The only new game that applied to was AC Shadows, and that's been delayed. So there is that tiny part of me that is like, man, I'm going to be missing out. And that sucks. Like, that is the FOMO thing. And that's the part of me that just wants to keep up with the industry, play the best versions of the games. And now there's a £700 price tag attached to that. And right now, a way bigger part of me says, F you, I'm not doing that. But on a longer timeline, maybe more titles are supported. Maybe they get us in there eventually. It sucks that that's where we're at.
Yep, I agree. And not to elongate this video further with more chaotic takes from myself, because I realise I'm all over the place with this and I wouldn't necessarily trust me either. But you mentioned there not having that one thing to look forward to. I talk about it all the time, but I bought a PS4 Pro to play the best version of The Last of Us Part 2, and I don't have that game right now to look forward to. You know, we've talked about it at length, but they only have those older games that they're relying on, and some third-party stuff that's coming out soon, like AC Shadows. I know you will probably get some support from Rockstar for GTA 6, but that's not confirmed right now. That is buying a promise of something I might get.
Yeah.
And then on a first-party slate, I'll probably be looking at this machine more closely when Ghost of Yotei comes out, when Marvel's The Wolverine comes out, when Death Stranding 2 comes out next year. But it feels like a next year problem. There's nothing that's coming out at the end of this year, at the start of next year, that I feel like I need to get this machine ready for. It's all end of 2025 stuff, and even a lot of that isn't set in stone and might get delayed until afterwards.
There's also, speaking of frame rates, there's a few stories doing the rounds, reports doing the rounds that something like GTA 6 will still run at 30 FPS. There, you know, various games that have been optimized towards 30 aren't able to, do 60, do 120, whatever. It's not as simple as just throw more hardware at it necessarily. You still need the dev time. You still need the optimization time. And just because of the reality of the way that obviously games get developed, when you're introducing the idea of the PlayStation 5 Pro, it isn't going to be a one-size-fits-all thing. So you could invest the money, and then your favorite game might not even get a patch, or still might not actually get upgraded, or whatever game in the future, like GTA 6, still might not have a PS5 Pro mode or whatever. It's still on the devs to support this stuff in a really weird way. They don't want to focus on it too much because not everybody's going to be buying it, clearly, but you don't want to ignore it because you can't take advantage of it. So it's like, it's just a stupid reality right now.
It is, you know, I mean, they probably will, I think, do a pro version of GTA 5, but at the same time, it's been many, many years, 4 years and counting almost, and I'm still waiting for Red Dead 2 PS5 native edition or some kind of patch that lets me play it in 60 frames per second. I know it can be done.
If you put Max Payne 3 on PS5 Pro, we'll talk.